Let's talk for a minute. I'm going to share with you a little story. Sounds like it could be right out of a fantasy book. You remember all those kid stories where there's always that the hero has this one special power and their big challenge just happened to be that one special power let him beat the challenge. I think one of the classic ones was there was a Chinese fable about 7 brothers, and each had a different special ability. One of them had a steel neck, like his neck was literally made of steel, and when they told the family, you have to send one of your sons to be beheaded, the one with the metal neck came forward and said, okay, I'll do it, and lay down. The executioner whacked him and promptly broke his sword. It was corny, it was fun, and I'm sure there's some cultural implications there. Unfortunately, Chinese culture is not my area of study, so that's something I need to dig into more. But you know something? There's a true story behind all of those. There's one that was kind of like that. So, let me set the stage on this one. I was 18. I was a raging extrovert with nowhere near the self-control I have now, nowhere near the perspective. Had a chip on my shoulder and never knew when to shut up. I just joined the SCA and I was obnoxious enough. I found out years later about this, that there was actually an informal meeting held at the local group. Specifically didn't tell me, of course. And they were all talking about how they were going to do a coordinated shunning so that I would stop coming. And looking back on it, guys, they were justified. I'm not going to pretend that they didn't have good grounds for it. And about evidently halfway through this conversation, one of them, who's sitting off in the corner listening, kind of picks her ears up. And you have to understand something really interesting about this person, because I've known her for years now. She's blind. And I don't mean legally blind. I don't mean metaphorically blind. I mean as in 100% blind in one eye and like 5% light perception in the other. She's blind. And what you have to understand is that I was 6'3" with a mustache at that point, a double bass voice. I looked like I was about 25, and I kind of talked like I was about 25 or 26. And she listened to them talk for a minute, and all of a sudden she goes, isn't he only 18? And apparently the whole room gasped. And they thought about it, and they realized, oh yeah, he is kind of acting appropriate for an idiot 18-year-old. And that's how a blind woman saw the truth, literally, and saved my SCA game. Something that the SCA was known for years ago, and still is today. Underneath all of the trappings of hobby and history and its recreation of this generic royalist construct and the game and all that, the SCA has a really, really strong tradition of taking wayward or misguided, sometimes even self-destructive figures, and mentoring them and teaching them and molding them to be absolutely phenomenal adults. I was one of those kids. I really was. About a year later, I had just met the woman who I ultimately would marry. And one of the players walks up to me. Older guy, older than me at the time. He was nowhere near as tall as I was. Of course, at 6'2.5", it's kind of hard to beat that number. But he had this square-shouldered stance of 100% pure German intimidation to him. And he asked me, would you consider being my man-at-arms? I thought about that for a long time. It was not an immediate decision. I had to think about that. I ultimately said yes. And he mentored me for 4 years. Helped me polish up my fighting game. Gave me loads of books to read. I read a bunch of them. I still have his copy of the first one up on my bookshelves. And I read that book again every now and then. But when you look at who I am now at 43, and you look at who I was walking in the door at 18, that story has a couple of really important points in it. Really important, major game-changing turns in the trajectory of my life. One of them was fall of 98, beginning of my sophomore semester in college, when Ulrich von Thorn walked up to me and said, would you consider being my man-at-arms? And as much as we want to frame it as a studentship, as much as we want to frame it as a fighting relationship, as much as we want to talk about it in grandiose terms or mentoring terms, the bottom line, the absolute bottom line, is that he picked up where my father left off, and he helped me polish off a bunch of the corners that still needed work to make me the person I am today, in and out of the SCA. So when people ask, what's the SCA? Yes, it is history. Yes, it is full contact fighting sport in some cases. Yes, it is grand costumes and amazing events. Yes, it is a lot of hard work. But also, for some of us, it is absolutely an opportunity, unparalleled in any other environment I've ever been exposed to better yourself and make the you of tomorrow amazing, no matter how rough and rugged the you of yesterday was. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Till then, goodbye and God bless.